Hi everyone, what's going on? If you're new to this channel, what I talk about is how the world that we live in is made up with signs and symbols and patterns, and also it involves mathematics. And there are people in this world who understand how this world works, and they control our mainstream media, they control the sports leagues, they control our told history, our movie industry. And they're constantly using this system to place patterns and signs and symbolism in front of us. And they are using this to keep us, enslaved in this system that they understand. They're using it to rule over us. And within this ancient knowledge that they understand is what is called Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism. And in Kabbalah, there's a belief that God created the world by merging the letter with the number. And they practice what is called gematria or gematria. And that is the practice of coding numbers into words and phrases. An example would be if you wrote out the word God. The word God equals 10 in this reverse method. The reason there's 4 methods here is because these are the alphabetic order. G is the 7th letter, O the 15th letter, D the 4th letter. You add them up, you get 26. This one right here, you just reduce it to numerology. It stems back to Pythagoras, the mathematician. But G is the 7th letter, but when you get to O, it's the 15th letter. So you have to take 1 plus 5 equals 6. So you reduce it. And then these are just the reverse methods. And the reason they're important is because in Hermeticism, there is a belief that everything is the same, but everything is also the opposite. And look at the word God here. God equals 55 in reverse and also 10 in the numerology way. And look what happens when you write out Satan. In the frontwards way, it equals 55 and 10. And think about how God created the world by merging the letter with the number. God and Satan, the exact same thing, but they're the opposites, right? And Marilyn Manson has a song called Say 10. Say and the number 10. And he says, you say God, and I say 10. And he's talking about the number because he understands this knowledge. That's why, the first man was Adam, and he was created out of dust, right? So, lots and lots of other examples. And what I'm going to talk about in this video is how we just got the story of the Portland Trailblazers being trapped in an elevator. And if you go back to November, I was talking about the Portland Trailblazers because we had this story of the Minnesota Timberwolves. They were going to unveil these new Prince, the singer, inspired jerseys. And the team that they were going to play against when they unveiled these jerseys just so happened to be the Portland Trailblazers. And there's a bunch of really important things that are going on with this story, such as when they did this, it was 5 months and 5 days after Queen Elizabeth's birthday. And if you recall, Prince, think about it, Prince and the Queen, Prince died on the Queen Elizabeth's birthday in 2016. And then they even made Niagara Falls purple, and they said it was in honor of the Queen, but think about Purple Rain. And earlier in the year, during Lupercalia, which is a wolf festival, an ancient Roman wolf festival, think about the Minnesota Timberwolves, Prince's ex-girlfriend named Vanity had died. She died during Lupercalia. And if you look her up, she was actually from Niagara Falls. So it's all of these things that we're syncing up. And there's a ton more that I'll explain as we go along. But the reason 5 months and 5 days was so interesting is because in gematria, if you write out Minneapolis equals 55, and the Timberwolves play in the Target Center, that equals 55. What else is in here? If you write out Timberwolves, it equals 55. This year, I guess it wasn't after, sorry. It was before Queen Elizabeth's birthday. 5 months and 5 days. And she's going to be turning 93 years old. That's also significant to Minnesota, because if you write out Minneapolis, Minnesota, it equals 93. It's located on 93 degrees west. And also if you write out Minnesota Timberwolves, it equals 93. So it was super important, and it was super synced up. Now we're getting the story of the Portland Trailblazers being stuck in an elevator. And keep in mind, Prince died in an elevator. That's why it's important. Prince died in an elevator. This story just so happens to come 55 days before the anniversary of Prince dying, and also the anniversary of Queen Elizabeth's birthday, right? Her 93rd birthday. Also in Gematria, just think about it. Prince has that song called I Would Die for, like the number, and then the letter U. And think about this in Gematria. U is the 21st letter. 421. He has a song that he says, I would die for 21. And then what day did he die? April 21st, 421. Because, you know, he knew about this system as well. Another reason I know that it's important to Prince is if you write out Prince's real name, which is Prince Rogers Nelson, it equals 226. And the day that this happened, the Blazers got stuck on the elevator, was February 26th, 226. And a lot of the deal with this article, if you go and watch some of these videos, a lot of it had to do with Enes Kanter, or however you pronounce his name, the guy who just got dropped by the Knicks, and then he got signed by the Portland Trailblazers. And I previously documented about him being important to a lot of 9/11 symbolism. And that's interesting with the date of 2/26. If you recall, 2/26 is also the day that we got the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. So think about Minnesota. Queen Elizabeth's going to be turning 93 years old. And then we're getting the story on 2/26. And it's even more important to Enes Kanter here because he's the guy who's banned from Turkey, right? And he's a follower of the, however you say his name, Fethullah Gulen guy. And they tried to do that Turkey coup a while back and whatnot. And now Enes Kanter, he couldn't even go to London this year to play in the game against the Washington Wizards because of all of this. And the reason that it's so interesting with this date of 2/26, the Turkish president, look when his birthday is, 2/26. And the guy that Kanter follows is this guy right here. And look at his name in Gematria. It just so happens to equal 226, right? And that coup attempt just so happened to be 226 days before the Turkey president's birthday. So 226 days, they tried to kill this guy. His birthday is 2/26. And they blamed it on this movement led by this guy that Enes Kanter follows, whose name equals 226. And now Enes Kanter gets picked up on the first day of Lupercalia, the Wolf Festival, by the Portland Trailblazers. And then now we're getting a story of him and the other Portland Trailblazers being trapped in an elevator on 2/26. Also, what stands out to me is that if you go to this guy, Fethullah Gulen's, if you go and look at the game that Kanter didn't go to in London when he played for the Knicks, and think about the Knicks in regards to 9/11, New York, 9/11, and a lot of the stuff with Prince was all about the number 112. Prince died on the 112th day of the year, and he was super connected to the Indians and the Cubs in the 112th World Series that came to an end on November 2nd, 11/2, a lot like 112, and much, much more. That's why there's an episode of The Simpsons where Homer kills Prince, and he also kills George Clooney and also Neil Armstrong, the first guy to walk on the moon. And that episode aired on 11/2 as well. And Prince died on the night of a full moon at the age of 57, and moon in Gematria equals 57. That's why his ex-girlfriend also died at the age of 57. And if you followed me for a while, he also died on the pink moon, which is really important. I've been talking a lot about this pink symbolism, and Prince died on the pink moon that's in April. But anyway, if you go from this game that he didn't get a play in London to the Gulen guy's birthday, it's 100 days. And that's interesting because if you write out Turkey, it equals 100. And they were going to play the Wizards that also equal 100. And Cantor being picked up by the Blazers on the first day of Lupercalia, the Wolf Festival, is also interesting because in Gematria, if you write out Teen Wolf, it equals 100. And Portland, they play in Portland, Oregon. Portland equals 100. T-Wolves equal 100. Also, Prince Rogers Nelson equals 100. So Prince Rogers Nelson equals 100. So there's definitely something important to how all of this goes. And I'm just trying to piece it all together here, trying to figure out what's going on. A lot of times you follow these patterns, you can figure out what is to come, and if you just pay enough attention to a lot of these things that are going on. Another reason that it's interesting, they got stuck in the elevator just before playing the Boston Celtics, which in Gematria, Boston Celtics equal 156. That is the 156 prime number is 911. Think about that in regards to 911 and whatnot. That was 33 years after the World Trade Center construction began. And if you write out 33, it equals 156. If you write out false flag, it equals 156. That's why Dennis Rodman went to North Korea 156 days after Kim Jong-un's birthday, and Dennis Rodman played 911 games of basketball, and he's there for basketball diplomacy. Basketball equals 68. 911 became the emergency dialing code in the year 68. George Bush graduated from Yale Skull and Bones in the year 68. 9/11 was 68 days after his birthday. And remember, World Trade Center construction began on August 6th of the year 68, which in most parts of the world, they even write the date as 68/68. So it's definitely important. It's also why yesterday on 2/26 we got that story of Time Warner and AT&T again, right? Another story about Time Warner and AT&T, the merger and whatnot. Let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, we got another story of this in the media on 2/26. And think about it, AT&T, right? They made 911 the emergency dialing code, and this comes on the anniversary of the 93 World Trade Center attacks. And there's just so much more that goes along with it, Think about Flight 93 and, the, what was it, the first plane hit between floors 93 and whatever. And, lots and lots of other things. Flight 77 hit the 77-foot tall Pentagon exactly 77 minutes after takeoff on the 77th meridian. If you write out September 11th, it equals 77. If you write out World Trade Center, it equals 77. That's why George Bush got married in the year 77. That's why his grandpa died 7 months and 7 days after his birthday, and his name equals 77, and his dad was the leader of the FBI or the CIA in the year 77. That's why it's interesting this year, too, because the Pentagon, it was opened I can't remember what it was. The Pentagon, I think it was opened on 9/11 of 1941, which is 77 years ago. So there's been lots and lots of 9/11 symbolism that's going on, and this Cantor guy is really important to all of that. So that's why I'm bringing this all up. And in other parts of the world, the emergency dialing code is 112. And think about that in regards to all the 112 around Prince, the singer. This Cantor guy, his name equals 112 in Gematria. And when the T-Wolves unveiled their Prince jerseys and they played the game, they won over the Blazers with 112 points. I believe the Blazers even had 96 points. I'm going to pull it up really quick. Yeah, the Blazers, it was 112 to 96. And if you write out 112 as words, it equals 96. And they lost by 16. If you write out 16, it equals 96. And the word wolf equals 16. So it's really, really important to what I was talking about here. And there's some other really interesting narratives here. There's a lot of royal symbolism that's involved with this. Portland is the city of roses, and this game was just after Derrick Rose had scored the 50 points in the game. And in the royal family, there was the War of Roses that the House of Tudor came out of. And that was King James and whatnot, right? So after Queen Elizabeth I died, King James became the House of Stuart, but the House of Tudor was Queen Elizabeth the first, is what I meant to say. I'm sorry to confuse you. The House of Tudor, came out of the War of Roses, but after the House of Tudor, it was the House of Stuart, and that's when King James began, and so on. That's why LeBron James is important, and he won the NBA Finals on the real King James's birthday, and just after Prince died. And LeBron James was Prince for Halloween in 2015, just before Prince died, and Kevin Love was Jackie Moon for the movie Semi-Pro. Then Prince died on the night of a full moon, and so on. The next year, LeBron was a guy, Jerome, from the movie Lawrence, and that TV show was all about the channel 51, and the Cavs hadn't won, or Cleveland hadn't won a sports championship in 51 years, and Cleveland equals 51, and LeBron James equals 51. And they play in Quicken Loans that equals 51. It's all about the WWE stuff. That's why he wore the Ultimate Warrior shirt and the Undertaker shirt, right? WWE equals 51. Undertaker was 51 years old. And that was all when Martin Lawrence was 51 years old. Then they went to the White House the same day as Donald Trump on the day leaving 51 days in the year, and it's just so ridiculous. But I bring all this up with that number 96 because King Richard III in Gematria equals 96. And it's important because we had this Leicester helicopter crash in November of 2018. And in 2016, after Prince had died, they attributed, or they said that the Leicester soccer team, football team was doing well because they had a reburial of King Richard III. And King Richard III was the last king during the War of Roses. So, he was the last king during the War of Roses, and then after that, it went on to the House of Tudor and whatnot. And I don't mean to be confusing, but if you go back to what I was talking about in 2015, it was really, really, really important to Derrick Rose and this Valentine's symbolism. Valentine's falls over the festival of Lupercalia, the Wolf Festival, and that's why we had Zach LaVine, the Teen Wolf, win the slam dunk contest, and the night before, on the first day of Lupercalia, we had Andrew Wiggins, another Teen Wolf, win the Rising Star Challenge MVP, and then a couple weeks later, Kevin Garnett came back to the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's the original Teen Wolf, and he's really important. Kevin Garnett, he's 42 years old this year, which is important. But the reason that it's also important to November 16th, that's the day these two teams played each other, and they did the Prince jersey thing. In 2015, on Valentine's Day, we had, what's his name? Denzel Valentine, who now plays for the Chicago Bulls with Zach LaVine, and he won the game winner for Michigan State on Valentine's Day, and his birthday was November 16th. And on Valentine's Day in 2015, Benson Henderson won the UFC fight, and his birthday was also November 16th. And in NASCAR that day, I believe it was, or that weekend, Matt Kenseth won, and his birthday was the same as Zach LaVine's birthday of March 10th. March 10th is also Osama bin Laden's birthday. It's also the day that Michael Jordan came out of retirement, or he retired from baseball this exact same day that Zach LaVine was born. Now Zach LaVine plays for the Chicago Bulls. Think about that with Jordan. And he did that Space Jam dunk. Think about that with Michael Jordan. And Denzel Valentine plays for the Bulls, Berg number 45, just like Michael Jordan did for 22 games. Then he came back in number 23 on the 23rd game, right? So lots and lots of symbolism going on. That's why Zion Williamson's shoe blew out against North Carolina, Michael Jordan's old team, and he's from the Charlotte area where Michael Jordan owns the team. That's where the All-Star Week was this year. November 16th is also the day that Karl Anthony Towns no longer was a teen wolf. In his rookie season, he was a teen wolf until his birthday on November 15th. And then the next day, he wasn't a teen wolf anymore because he turned 20 years old. So November 16th, important, important to why they played the Blazers and whatnot. There's just so much going on with it. I don't want to lose you. Probably already have, but another thing that was really interesting. So I made this new post, and I'm skipping over some of this stuff. There's lots of interesting things that are going on here. They got trapped in a hotel elevator that equals 67, and Prince died 67 days after Vanity, and he was also born on 6/7, and that's why it was important to the Cleveland Indians. Mike Pence is also born that day, and he's from the land of the Indian, Indiana. And all summer I talked about this Native American theme. That's why I thought the Indians would be in the World Series. Cleveland Indians equals 67. They even lost 67 games that season. So Prince's drummer in 2017 died 67 days before his birthday. And I can't even remember it all. I wonder if I even pulled it up. I'll just type it out really quick. We'll see. Prince's drummer. Let's see, maybe Prince drummer. This guy right here. 2017, Prince's drummer died. Prince's backup band is also called the Revolutions, I believe. They equal 67 in Gematria, but his drummer died 67 days before his birthday of a brain tumor. That equals 67. Prince born on 67, and so on, And it's important to this year because it's the year 19, and the 19th prime number is 67, which is also something I talked about with the Cubs and the World Series that year because of Bill Murray being really synced up to the number 19 and also 67. Anyway, at the end of this post, just before I went to bed last night, I was really tired, and a big long story, like our furnace went out, I couldn't get it working, and I got like zero sleep, and I was just tired, and I talked about how I know that the date of 5/13 was important to my old Prince videos. Even after I made a video of Prince dying, like minutes after I uploaded this video, YouTube gave me a copyright strike on one of my old videos called 22 Jump Street. And everything about it was synced up by the numbers, and it was all connected to King Charles I and a bunch of other things. And I don't want to re-explain it. I'll leave a link to maybe a playlist that I'm talking about with this, but I don't know. There was something important to it, and the date of 5/13 was really important in 2016. It was the 134th day of the year. If you write out King Charles, it equals 134. That movie Money Monster with George Clooney, I think it was George Clooney, came out, and that also involved basketball and a bunch of other things. And this number was also important to the angel Gabriel. Lots and lots of things I've documented with this number, the date of 513. And it's important to that King Richard story too, the Leicester helicopter crash and him being reburied just before the Cavaliers won. just after Prince died and whatnot. But it's important to that because they played Manchester United when they won the Premier League. And remember, we had the Manchester bombing with Ariana Grande, and her name equaled 513. So there's something important to it. It was on the, yeah, it was in the Manchester Arena and whatnot. But so I just documented about this, and I closed my laptop and I sat it down on the chair next to me, and I noticed that the TV, the thing popped up. And I never really watched TV. It's just on. It was on Nickelodeon because before my daughter went to bed, she was watching some cartoon on there. I don't even remember which one. But when I picked up the remote to turn it off, I looked at the TV and I was like, what are the odds of this, right? Season 5, episode 13, just after I like finished the vlog post talking about 513 and how it's important to the Prince stuff. And it was an episode of The Office, and look what it was called. Prince Family Paper. Like, how do you cannot make this up. And this stuff happens to me constantly, you know? That's what I'm talking about. There is something else in this world that other people understand, and they know how to use this knowledge to rule over the masses, right? And I've just been documenting this stuff so many times. It happens to be every single day. You know, I recently documented about a duck theme, and I went to, and a lot about the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and I was at work and I saw this girl with a Nebraska Cornhusker shirt, and I thought, well, no big deal. I haven't seen one all day, but there's a lot of Nebraska Cornhusker fans around here. And she'd been over to grab something, and she was wearing like capri pants, and I know she had a big tattoo of ducks on her leg. And I was like, and just before she came in, I was singing "We Are the Champions" by the Band Queen for no apparent reason, just because I was thinking about the Mighty Ducks. And I even told her that, you know, I was like, you have a duck tattooed on your leg? That's crazy. I was just singing a song from the movie The Mighty Ducks and whatnot. So just this type of stuff happens to me constantly. If you pay enough attention, you can figure out what it means, what the purpose is, you know. I don't know if there's definitely going to be something significant about May 13th. It doesn't mean there's going to be, you know, destruction or something bad. It could be something positive, you know. But there's going to be something that I'm supposed to see in regards to that date. And, you know, when it comes around, I might not even figure it out for months. And then one day it's just going to all click, because that's how this works. And if, you know, trying to get better at this system so I can figure it out less than months, you know, afterwards. I could figure it out before every single time. But it always seems like whatever I'm talking about, something very important in particular, it's never actually connected to that certain date. It's always just something that is connected to that date that's showing me something else, if that makes sense. So there's been a few exceptions, but for the majority of the time, I've noticed that whenever I think something big is going to happen on a certain date, it never happens on that date. It's always something connected to that date. So just pointing that out. But what are the odds? Prince Family Paper, Season 5, Episode 3. Nickelodeon equals the same as King Charles, which I thought was interesting. And this episode also talks about a cultural reference to Vietnam. And then this happened just after midnight last night. We had Donald Trump in Vietnam with Kim Jong-un. Also, in this episode, it's all about a guy named, what is his name? His name is Roger Prince, right? The whole episode is about Roger Prince. I'm talking about Prince Rogers Nelson. It was an episode of The Office, which I've never really watched the show. I can't even tell you. I've never even watched one full episode before, but The Office equals 166, just like May 13th, and 166 and 513. I'll find my Angel Gabriel video and a couple other videos and I'll leave them in the description, but these two numbers were really important together with multiple things, you know, so I don't know what it is about it. There's something really important to it. this is really important to New York and 9/11, the 166 is. So, I don't know. Is super important to the death of my uncle. So, who was also important to Dan Marino. He gave me that Dan Marino jersey, showing me the Falcons were going to lose in the Super Bowl and whatnot. But that episode was also season 10, episode 12, but it was the 215th episode, like the day that Vanity died, the end of, the last day of Lupercalia, the day that I recently just got a copyright strike on, talking about the Pink stuff and Molly Ringwald, and it was about the Breakfast Club, which also has Emilio Estevez, the guy from the Mighty Ducks. That's why the Jesse Smollett stories in the news. His first movie was the Mighty Ducks. I also got a bunch of information that I need to reread before I explain it, but Turkey is really important to the Golden Gate and whatnot. Think about it, Gordon Bombay. And I've talked about Happy Gilmore and why the grandma's important and why that's important to the Golden Gate and whatnot, but her name's Frances Bay. So, and, it's named after St. Francis of Assisi, the guy who received the first stigmata. And that's why it's important. Her name's Frances Bay, and we have Pope Francis, who's named after the same guy. Has the same gematria as San Francisco. So, just making a video. I'm trying to figure out this riddle that's going on with Prince. Like, what is the purpose that we're getting this Prince stuff? It seems really synced up to 9/11. It's definitely, I mean, it's absolutely, it's just so synced up. I don't know what the whole purpose is, but just trying to look through some of this stuff really quick. I don't know. We'll just end the video there. Hopefully it all makes sense. Like I said, I'll leave links in the description. Have a good one. Peace.